Heads of state and government officials are convening in that country this week for a meeting of the African Union. Heads of state and government are expected to grapple with the theme around that conference that talks to the challenges of refugees and internally displaced persons. For more on this, we cross to SABC East Africa correspondent Sarah Kimani in Addis Ababa. Sarah, just tell us more about this conference and South Africa's involvement.
Well, the conference proper, where the heads of state will be meeting, is going to be on Sunday, not Monday. But in the meantime, ministers have been meeting here, permanent secretaries from various governments have been meeting, and we've also been receiving updates from commissioners at the African Union. Basically, most of them talking about the issue of refugees and the challenges that the refugees face, and countries that are hosting refugees face. The continent hosts about 22 million refugees and internally displaced persons. And so the African Union Heads of State Summit this time will be seeking solutions to conflicts, especially in South Sudan, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, in northern Nigeria, in Somalia, to see how they bring this under control so that then they can stop the numbers rising, the influx of refugees and internally displaced persons.
It's often linked to conflict zones. Where are the migration refugee hotspots in Africa right now?
Well, the countries that host the largest numbers of refugees include Ethiopia, where we are, and neighboring Uganda, most of them from South Sudan. One of the reports that we received here yesterday from the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa saying in the last 2 months, South Sudan has been producing at least 200,000 refugees. One of the reasons is because even though a peace agreement was signed in that country, it still is not holding, and also the country is facing severe food shortages, hyperinflation, so that even those people who have money cannot be able to buy food supplies in the market because the cost is so high. The economy of South Sudan is almost collapsing, and so people opt to move to neighboring countries where they are able to get better lives. But when they get to the refugee camps, they find that life is more difficult, their children cannot get education, healthcare is not proper, and so these are the issues the African leaders will be discussing. Is it okay maybe then to stop holding refugees in refugee camps? After how long should one become a national of a country? Take, for example, in Kenya, where Somali refugees have been in camps for more than 25 years. Is it time now to move them out of those refugee camps and agree to naturalize them and make them citizens of the country?
We know, Sarah, sometimes people are just so desperate, looking for a better life. Some go to other countries, Europe, some come to South Africa. Will there be lessons for us?
Yes, indeed. South Africa will also be playing a key role in this meeting because South Africa is a host to a lot of economic migrants. This is also an issue that will be discussed. Neighboring Zimbabwe going through economic issues. Other countries like the Democratic Republic of Congo, which is a SADC member, also going through issues. And so people from those countries find themselves seeking economic refuge inside South Africa. And so the country hosts a lot of economic migrants. There will be issues on what laws can countries make to ensure that when these economic migrants come into countries, one, their rights are protected, but two, that even when their rights are protected, then they do not infringe on the rights of citizens, especially when it comes to setting up businesses and or even getting employment. What policies will be put in place and who will be prioritized when it comes to getting employment. So South Africa will, of course, play a key role during this meeting.
All right, thank you very much, our East Africa correspondent Sarah Kimani. Coming back home, the victims of the Hoërskool Driehoek